Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us for the Survey Research Database Design and Interactive Results presentation in Tableau, be illustrated by the PhD Career Pathways Survey Research Project. My name is Steve Yena. I'm the Assistant Director in the Graduate College IT and Data team, and I'm here with my wonderful colleagues, Hongxia Fu, Senior Data and Principal Analyst in the Graduate College IT and Data team, and Feher, Database Data Analyst Specialist. If you want to go to the next slide, Dan. So we're excited to be here today, and just a couple of just our overarching goals for this presentation is that everyone leaves with a better understanding of what the PhD Career Pathways Project is. We're going to provide some insight into some of the survey design, database design structure that was created. We'll go through the PhD Pathways dashboard and unveil that for the first time. That's what we've been working on for a while, and we'll be getting that up on one of our dashboards in the coming weeks. We'll discuss some of the survey design and analysis pitfalls, and then hopefully everyone leaves with some better knowledge into some of the survey findings focused on the career aspirations and professional landscape for doctoral students. So with that, before we dive in, just a brief background about the Graduate College. We're an enterprise ASU office made up of about 45 FTE. We have offices ranging from graduate student support resources and curriculum and format to postdoctoral affairs and graduate initiatives. These are just a few examples of some of the student-facing areas that we support graduate students, whether it's needs-based and merit-based awards for teaching assistants and research assistants, to helping students with some of the student-facing applications. Our interactive plan of study is an area where students can help plan out their coursework and help them fulfill their program requirements. We also do professional development courses and mentoring, as well as helping navigate through some of the fine print of the policies. A little bit about our area. So if you want to go to the next slide, Zan. We're the Graduate College Data and IT team. So we are small. I like to think of us as a small but mighty group. We are primarily made up of analysts and developers, and we have a range of different tasks and wear many different hats within our group. It may be one day writing requirements and testing, to handing that off to our developers to develop within PeopleSoft or some of our student-facing applications, developing dashboards or rich data sets and reports. We support some of the 4+1 technology, our RATA awarding, all the graduate curriculum that comes to the university. So coding that into the system to ensure students fulfill their program requirements, mission requirements, things of that nature. And then the last 2 years, Hongxia and Zan have been pivotal in helping to build our analytics capacity, ranging from, we have a really rich operational data set in the graduate student progress analytics site with about 150 different data elements tailored for graduate students. In the last year, we launched the Graduate College Dashboard, which is a suite of interactive dashboards that allow program leadership to get really an aggregate lens at the graduate population from the point that a student applies all the way through graduation and everywhere in between, as well as some assistantship data, graduate faculty data, and postdoctoral scholars data. And then we have some internal reporting that we've done as well. Next slide, Zan. So just a little bit more information about the graduate population. Enrollment for fall 2020 was over 22,000. We have over 500 graduate programs that have students active today. 14 colleges. We provide support and training for over 400 support staff. We have about 3,500 RATAs this semester and a little over 300 postdoctoral scholars. So with that, just a brief background about the PhD Career Pathway Project, and then I'm going to hand it over to Hongxia after this. So the Graduate College was selected to participate in a multi-institutional grant aimed at studying doctoral career pathways for the STEM and humanities areas. This was called the Understanding PhD Career Pathway Research Project. And our goal was really to better understand students' career aspirations and the level of academic training for versatile careers, as well as improved professional development for doctoral students. A little bit more about the study. So the PhD Career Pathways, it's a best practice project that was led by the Council of Graduate Schools also commonly referred to as CGS. They're a national organization that support graduate education and research. The research is supported by the grants from the National Science Foundation and Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. So the CGS Council selected 29 universities to participate in a 3-year project with 18 affiliate partners, ASU being one of them. So the ASU research team surveyed 3 cohorts of current graduate students at years 1, 2, and 5. And additionally, the team also surveyed 3 cohorts of alumni who received doctorates 3, 8, and 15 years ago. And the results have been helpful insight into a lot of the understudied professional landscape for doctoral students in academic and non-academic careers that will go into greater detail throughout this presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Hongxia, who's going to do a deeper dive into the survey database design structure. And thank you again for everyone's time.
So for this one, we have 3 purposes. This is the first one. Then you can go to. So mainly because with the 3 purposes, then we created the tables. So for the first one, maximize the survey findings. So this thought is to enable longitudinal study, cross-survey study, and avoid the repetitions of surveys. So one survey may be conducted again and again. So it's better to have a table there together. We could do the longitudinal study. And the different surveys, sometimes they have areas overlap in their serving columns or serving fields. So if we have a comprehensive database, and we can allow this one to make full use of the surveys we have done. Of course, we can check what surveys we have done, what questions have been asked. So in the new survey development, we don't need to repeat the efforts. For the facilitated new survey development, we mainly focus on 3 aspects. One is survey item creation, and another one is invitations. We'll send invitations to potential participants, reminders, etc. So different surveys send out different invitation, but it's still quite an effort to write up the invitations and create items. If we have a database there to see, to reference, then it could really reduce the efforts to write new invitation emails or phone script, and also, of course, item creation or modification. And the other one is process. So people always just like struggled to say, how often should we send out a reminder to increase the participation rate? So although different universities just share some common features, but some universities have their own like specific features. For us, the purpose here is we keep the record for each survey, like when we send out the first invitation, when we send out the second one, what is the response to rate change. So this one, as time going on historically, when we do the similar surveys or similar population, then we can refer to these tables to see, oh, what's going on there? Is there any just like common features we could just make use of, or if we say something we needed to improve. So just facilitate new survey development. And then the last one is create a survey community. We like to see if different parts to contribute to the survey database. Together, everyone can benefit from this database. So all this one is based on my experience as creating surveys and doing survey analysis for many years. I see a lot of surveys are done. Then when those surveys are done, everything's done. In the future, some people will ask to see what's the response rate? What about how often we send out the reminders? No one knows, especially when personnel change. But hardly find the files to record all these things. So that is kind of the starting point for the design. So these are the tables. So these tables we see on the left side, you see the survey table names with in white. All those ones facilitate new survey creation. So you could tell we have the survey process table, like cross invitation, all the emails there, and also introduction. The introduction is like the default section for each survey. Sometimes the consent form, sometimes it's not. It depends the survey purpose. It's for research, it's for publication, it's only for management purpose. It's different. So the introduction will be different. So we'll store that information. For the offered answer, we have that one to store all the answers. Here, I didn't do, we are still battling, maybe not. I didn't do a specific table for the like option section, question, service section table or option table. Here, the battle is how can we balance the dependency, redundancy, and convenience. So one point is I don't like to create so many tables. So it might confuse users in the future. So if possible, if it's possible, I still keep the each table a little bit bigger, probably than the best one when we consider the normalization, or we say, or sixth normalization. So maybe didn't reach that high, probably fourth normalization level. That's a consideration. Because here, even for the survey question table, so I didn't put the numbers there. We haven't created it. So it's still battling. It's very likely we'll create that table. Currently, we just use the number 6 question answer. So the question answer table just serve on one hand to provide all the questions. On the other hand, it serve for the right side. Those are the data we collected for each survey. So for the right side, with the survey names in yellow, we have target sample. We say store all the target sample information. This one mainly serve as a template. Just in the future, we can look at this table to see what information we might need. I include a little, probably more information than need. It's not necessary you needed to just like input all the information, but will allow no for this table. Mostly just like sometimes when we search for the target sample information, sometimes we request some information, but after some time we may say, oh, we need more. We need more about the target sample information there. Request data again. So for this table, you can quickly take a look to say what the information is there. It's often when all the information you need is included. So another table is 9, survey statistics. For that table, we store all the things related to the survey, like we have target sample, valid sample size, and also like self-selection bias, margin error. So such information stored there. Of course, response rate. So in the future, when we think about it, when we did a survey, what's the response rate? Quickly from this table, we could get this information. And at the bottom, with the survey names in green, all this one are managed information. So here we have, like, you see, we have managed the survey management description. Sometimes when we manage a survey, we not only use the original survey, but sometimes we combine surveys. So that's why we need this specific one, combined surveys. And that combined survey will have survey ID to connect with the original survey in the middle, number 1, survey description. So for this managed description, survey description, of course, we have managed the question answer there store all the questions, the answers. And also here we have, of course, the participant answer. PARTIC is participant answer. And also we keep the management survey statistics. So such as one survey is conducted 3 times, for example, for each time from the number 7 participant answer, we could have each survey's statistics, number 7 or number 9. We can get the statistics, but sometimes we combine the surveys together. So then we can go to the management statistics table to get all the information for the management. When we look at this table, actually, historically, we are less likely to be interested in the original participant answer, like in table 7. It's less likely. Very likely, we are interested in the statistics, management statistics, as well as the management participant answer. So very clean table, in another word. So this is the overall thinking. So next slide, please. So this is the ER diagram. I won't go to the details for this one. We also updated this one. We haven't got time to put here. So next slide, please. So here's some examples I show to better understand the tables, like here, survey description. So when we put if a survey is conducted just like year by year, we'll put more information here. Because each year we have start date and the date. Here we put it together. Then original style, we have a specific table, like we have a survey date, separate table like a survey and start date, end date. We'll get rid of start date, end date from this table, but later on we just like think maybe make it easier. We reduce tables. And the next is the survey process example. So next slide. So here is another example for survey question answer. So here's the management tables. The above one is participant answer. Next one is you can see it's the management. So we talked about table, now we'll go to the reporting to see. I'll just let Zan to demo the reporting.
Okay, so I'm going to walk you through some of the dashboard we created for these surveys. And I wanted to preface this with our former student worker, Prakash, actually did most of the work on these dashboards. Sadly, he moved on to bigger and better things. But like I said, most of this was his creation. So this is a screenshot of the landing or the first tab you'll go to. As long as the internet's working, I'm going to take you to the full dashboard here. All right. Okay, so here is, mind you, the dashboard still in beta, but we're getting pretty close to a completed status. So we wanted to create a dashboard where you can, dissect the data in just about every possible way, but while still being as organized as possible. So we ended up breaking it into sections for alumni's career, questions about career preparation, for the graduate program experience, or career aspirations and advice. So these correspond to different tabs, and these show you the primary questions that we're using data from on each of those tabs. All right, so here's the alumni's career. So we're looking at the current jobs or jobs they've had recently and how that breaks down and how many jobs. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you're familiar with surveys, we had a lot of times where people didn't answer certain questions. Some questions were answered less than others. So that's just always part of our data here as well. Let's see here. And Hongxia, if you have anything you wanted to comment on the data as I go, just tell me to stop.
Okay, just go ahead.
Okay. So unsurprisingly, a lot of our PhD students wanted to work as faculty members, for example. And here are some salary data across the board. Looks like our students are doing quite well, with the majority of them landing in this field. And for career preparations, we looked at how well prepared they were for the careers based on their PhD experience. Are their careers related to what they were actually studying as part of their PhD? Here's where we sort of get to a little trickier part of some of the analysis and how to display it. So here we have it broken down by categories of how well you were prepared in each of these areas. And thankfully, for the most part, they are pretty well prepared. Here, rather than using a stacked bar, we used a bar chart to show the averages of how important each of these skills are for their principal jobs. And it seems like analytical thinking, integrity, attention to detail, these are the top ones. But honestly, on a scale of 1 to 5, the lowest being a 3.2, almost everything was decently important up to extremely important. For the graduate experience, again, we had very positive feedback for the most part. There's always outliers. Here is one where I still think I might want to change this graph a little bit. Talking about what is the most important or the most critical to success in the program, and one being the most important. So other than everyone having their own very unique answer, and thus we can only categorize it into other, you have financial support and professional practices. But even those weren't on average rated that critical. That's on a 3 at a scale of 1 to 8. Go to the next one. All right, career aspirations. Here's where we started breaking down and actually showing some of the raw data. So here we did an analysis, Prakash and I, and grouped it into similar themes or similar portions of their responses. But we wanted people to be able to go down line by line and look through all the different answers that people actually gave. Similar on this one, your career aspirations changed. So broken down by STEM and humanities, but here is the raw answers. Some obviously were very detailed, some were just, it was a horrible experience and they just left it at that. So this allows people the transparency to dig into the full data set when it's not just a 1 to 5, when it's actually an judgment. And here we have the advice for the future students. So using a word cloud, we saw gain skills and accreditation needed for reward success, and just being hardworking with the two very dominant ones for advice. And similar here, we broke it down on each person's answer. The only downside to displaying it this way is we have to go through and do a little aliasing in case they make reference to individuals, or maybe someone's email or phone number, or just their personal information that has to be scrubbed before you put this up on a dashboard. All right, did you have anything to add, Hongxia?
Yeah, here when we talk about the qualitative data presentation, so we tried different ways. Like one way is like the word cloud. So we try to see overall what's the impression. And another way, as previous slide, we try to find out the themes, like codes. We coded every response to see what's the outstanding theme it came up. So different codes. Sometimes we just present only the major themes because those represent the most important thing. But sometimes we felt like the codes are very important for the program improvement. So we present the codes. So of course, in the meantime, sometimes we may say, when we see the codes or themes, or we see word cloud, we may like to go deeper to say specific the context. So that's why we provided the original answer here. Here, one thing people might be wondering, like to see, how about the privacy? Here, one thing I like to point out is all this dashboard is only for management purpose. It's not for publication. It's not for further research. So that's why a lot of layers people need to get permission to access to the data. So that privacy section is protected. And also for this one, I checked this is our IRB office to make sure this is, we follow the rules. And another thing I like to point out is that when people do research or survey for the consent form, I strongly recommend do not write words like all the personal information is anonymous. So we can say, actually, no information is completely anonymous. So it's a key point is that all the information is just no personal information will be shared, and all the personal information is confined to certain group of research people. So this is the thing I like to point out. If we use a consent survey, you specifically mention no individual information, all things is anonymous, it leaves no room for us to like match the survey with our database data. That leads to the next section of the like a survey design pitfalls. So by now, any questions?
All right, before we move on, I just wanted to show, this will be a very quick one. Here, this is still a very much a work in progress, but Hongxia had a very clever idea to start building a dashboard tied to a database of surveys. So, going forward, if I wanted to create a survey, I could use this dashboard to see what questions had been answered in the past, what was the wording used if I wanted to repeat it, or maybe I wanted to design a survey and then I can look here and find, based on these questions, these categories, that most of those questions have already been asked and answered. So my efforts would be redundant, so it becomes unnecessary. If you wanted to add anything, Hongxia?
You're good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep.
So you show the survey invitation as well?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you showed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like the upper part is the introduction text put at the beginning was survey. So next part is the invitation. You send out mostly by email. If no questions, we'll go to next part.
Yeah. And does that by default? There we go. All right.
So for this one, so for survey design, there are a lot of books available. Here today, I just like to connect the three things together when we design survey. So the three parts are interrelated when we design survey. Never forget each one. It's very often when people are designing surveys, they remember their purpose. Sometimes they confuse their purpose and also forget the participation analysis factors. Continue, Ferenc. So for the purpose section, I like to say, just ask yourself again, what do you really care? What do you most care about for this survey? When you are really clear about your survey purpose, then you go to the categories, what categories can help you to answer your questions. Then category need to be clear. Just one point, do I really need this category or not? Then for the questions, of course, do I really need this question? how could I make this question concise, simple, no confusion for readers? And for the option, do I need like what kind of scales? Is it single option, multiple option, or like the scale? It seems simple. You see, oh, when I do it, I think about the things, but just think again, because I really have done so many surveys and reviewed so many surveys. Sometimes when I receive survey results, the results for the survey results, the columns are over 400. I have over 400 columns for one survey. So that's why I pay special attention. We see this one that is connected to participation rate and analysis. Here, I like to see when you do analysis, when we come across like the scales, people are likely to do average. That's fine. But sometimes based on just like a question, probably percentage is better than average. And also when you do percentage, here question come back to the question design. For example, if we have a 5-point like the scale or 6-point like the scale, do you really need 5-point or 6-point? When you report, do you report the 5 categories or 6 categories? Do you need to know when you do the report, do you really show how many people are, for example, extremely happy or extremely agree or very agree? So if not, like in our dashboard, originally the question asked, it's a 5 points or 5 points like the scale. In order to make the just report easier to read, we just like collapse them to 3 categories. So that's why that just increase your analysis burden. If in the survey design, you realize you don't need the 5 like the scales, then based on the question nature, then you really don't need to create 5 or 6 like the points. And another thing I like to point out is the majority. Like many people, when they say average is 3 point, over 3 point, for example, in a 5 like scale, when they say the average is above 3.0, they'll say majority of people agree, for example. Actually pay special attention, like average above 3.0 or neutral point, like the scale, that doesn't necessarily means majority, because majority refers to percentage, is closely related to percentage instead of average. We can have examples to say the different averages above 3.0, that doesn't mean majority. And another thing is the category. So for the category, when I do surveys, I found that some surveys, survey has different sections or categories, and for each question, they have categories too. So here when design survey needed to think, do we really need so many categories? Or sometimes then for one question, they list so many options. Sometimes one question has 18 options that I came across. So do we really need so many to confuse? That's the participation side. Then when the question is so many options, it will affect participants' participation. And also it creates just like extra work for analysis. So when you do analysis, it's for presentation, do you really need to show 18 options together? So that will confuse readers a lot, because for people's cognition, classification is such an important concept, such an important procedure. Only like the credit card, all the credit card numbers are grouped, classified to different groups. So that makes the cognition easier. So that's why we see when you design the survey, think about the analysis, think about the participation or respondents' reaction. So when we go to participation side, it's still related to survey design. So many surveys, they ask your name, your age, sometimes even your social security card number. So research shows if you ask more private information, then fewer participants. That's obvious. So another point I like to mention is that if in our database we could get the information, it's unnecessary to ask in a survey. Sometimes you ask people age, we have the information we need in the database. If we report collectively, it's fine. Then for management purpose, like the gender, they ask, we have the information. So for the, and I like specifically to mention for gender, if you are not specifically interested in gender, you really don't need to ask because it's in the database. So we can match them. Only when you are interested in gender, some people may be like when in many years ago, when they were in, when the alumni were in SU, they were less likely to report they are transgender or transgender or LGBT. But now, because the society becomes more open, some alumni started to report this one. Like some say in the database, it's male, now they become different. So that only depends on you are really interested in the gender. Otherwise, like these things happen very scarcely, so we can ignore. We only care about the trend, 1 or 2 years, it's okay. In order to reduce the length of the survey, the longer the survey, the less likely for respondents to participate. So of course, another one, when you do this is all related to survey design. And also you have the plan when you design survey, how often you live, just like remind people to increase the participation. So that's whole things we like, some tapes I like to mention. So next slide. So here I provide some important resources. I won't go to details about it. Next one. So this part is about the simple, very simple introduction about the findings. For the CGS, the key point for us is to ask some questions, 3 key questions for this research. The first question is, where do PhD students like to work? And where do alumni work? So this is the finding. So we talk about the findings because we use the PhD career pathways survey as an example. So I just say it's better to show some findings here. So we see the PhD student, now you see the alumni. And as Ferenc mentioned in the dashboard, it's the same. So here you can see. So literally, they all like in higher education. However, for the STEM, it's not so substantial. And also same for the PhD students. Although the highly desired is higher education, but STEM students have shown more options. It's like there is still high, but not so great difference. Because for PhD students, although the tenure faculty position is shrinking over the years, but still for this advanced education, most people still like to go to higher education if possible. Next slide. So here, because of the time, we didn't show the details about how well, this is another question, how well how your program train you, this is part. So this part is on the dashboard. On the dashboard, you can find a lot of questions related to how well you are prepared by your program for your career. Now, just like Ferenc showed the alumni dashboard, soon we'll just like share the PhD student dashboard based on the survey. Here, I just like put the professional development. This slide here, you can see the difference. We can tell clearly the current PhD's difference. Go back, sorry. So you can clearly tell for the current PhD students, they have participated way more professional development activities than alumni. So that maybe just like as you provided a lot of professional development activities now than in the past, but it's also possible like maybe alumni have forgotten what activities they participated. Probably they could remember only the outstanding one, most impactful one. But still, the numbers vary so much. We may say the difference does exist. Another question is about students and alumni's career aspiration. So career aspiration, you see here is teaching. For humanities, they focus on teaching, while STEM. So still teaching, but teaching is one part, but the applied research, product development is the highest one. So you see the difference. And this is the last one, is the alumni's career aspiration. But here we focused on their career aspiration change and the triggers. So here we can see the highest one on the right is no change. And also the secondly high is the left one, career opportunities. When they get career opportunities, then they change their career aspiration. This is, I like to point out, this is a qualitative question, just like we coded the answers, and this is the thing we put together, and then we calculate the frequency of the codes and of things. So here is also we see second reason niches changed. Here I like to point out, it's very interesting, is in the middle part, negative triggers. You can see unfavorable environment is pretty high. Then triggers people's career aspiration change. This also, like we classified as key code. This is key codes because we see for the triggers, the codes important. Then we first classify the codes to the category. So after this one, we'll go to next slide for Steve.
So what's next? Just a couple of things. So we're in the final stages, like Zan and Hongxia mentioned, about putting the PhD career pathways dashboard, making that available. So that'll be going likely on the graduate college dashboard. We'll have a new tile in that section that'll allow folks that have access to this dashboard to be able to dive in deeper, do deeper analysis. So that's coming weeks for that. And then enterprise, we're really excited about the enterprise survey database collection for the graduate college that Hongxia went into wonderful detail about. So for future surveys that the graduate college does, whether it's to students or if it's specific research or grants, we have the foundation built to be able to collect that data in a more streamlined and structured format. And then looking at continuing to strengthen links with the industry and other stakeholders as a result of the project. So with that, are there any questions?
Hi, Stephen. This is Aniket from the Enterprise Marketing Hub.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, we do a lot of alumni and current student surveys regarding ASU and brand perception and things like that. Has there been any like collaboration? Because I'm brand new to the hub. I'm just trying to figure out if we had any collaboration on any of these survey designs or anything like that.
Currently, we haven't. We just talked with UE, get their surveys. Here, it will be wonderful in the future we can cooperate with the marketing hub. This is really, we hope then we can create the database available to more survey people so they can use it. Thank you for sharing this information.
Sure.
By the way, MCAT, it will be, I will send you an email later to just keep contact.
Sure, we'll do that.
You guys mentioned that this dashboard is looking at going live for those people who have access to it in a few months. Is that correct?
Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have it up at the latest.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty close. I think Hongxia and Zan have done an amazing job. They get all the credit for the dashboard and all the hard work. So very close.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're just about at time, but Hongxia, Zan, and I are happy to stick around to answer any other questions for a few minutes after. And if you guys think of any questions after, feel free to email us, and we're happy to chat offline as well. So thank you everyone for the time.